Um, I've not been like hyped up on energy as much the last few days, but remembered that I was intending to make more videos, so just wanted to talk about where I am. I think a lot about trying to do what I'm doing better in order to feel better. That's pretty much the core of it. And tend to a lot of how I usually try to do that, accomplish that, is a better routine, adjusting how I do what I do, and trying to find the perfect routine in a lot of ways. And that I'm learning to focus less on that, focus less on having the same routine. Now, I still put a lot of energy into things that work and things that don't. Um, how do I get up? What time do I get up? What do I do? In what order? Um, but I realized I'm not ultimately trying to cultivate this routine. I'm not trying to cultivate this specific way I set up my day and what I do. I'm ultimately trying to cultivate a state of mind, and having the state of mind at the base seems to be the thing that needs to be placed first. So state of mind, and then how am I actually executing my day? How am I executing on my priorities and my values? So, and it's not what I naturally pay attention to. I naturally pay attention to what am I doing, how am I doing, how can I do it the best. But if you just focus on what's the best way to do something, you don't take the time to ask and evaluate what is actually important. What should I actually be valuing? If I don't spend the time there, then what I value becomes determined by other sources, and I'm going to follow a order of priorities that actually doesn't serve me as much as it would if I actually took the time to evaluate those priorities for myself, what actually matters to me. I'm not actually going to be able to take care of and build what matters to me if I don't spend the time to figure out what that is. And I mean values in terms of how do I what is the conduct that matters to me and that moves me in the right direction. And then priorities, what are the specific things that are above each other. And even like, if I set a specific goal, what is the correct order of priorities in order to achieve that goal? And I think I can't even talk about that very well yet, but I want to get to a place where I can talk about those priorities a little bit better. I don't need to get into all specifics here on video, but I want to be able to share those and be able to realize them to myself. So it's pretty much basic stuff. It's like, I want to be a valuable person so that I can be a person who spreads value. I want to do that now. I want to do that later, and over time, I want to find ways to convert that monetarily, and I eventually want to make more money. I want to buy a house, and I want to have more time for a family. And I think that's really the core of like, okay, this is definitely valuable. Check in 6 months later, yeah, it's still valuable. And I feel it more intensely, like working a job, working 50 hours a week or so, and feeling like, hey, I really wish I had more time where I wasn't at this job. And then, but even within that, it's like, it's like just realizing what I want, and then realizing how that is consistent over time. Like that feeds into what is valuable, what is a priority to me. That feeds especially into priorities. I think the values are easier for me to recognize. It's like the values are, I want to have a positive impact on the environments that I exist in. I want to have a positive impact on my relationships, my workplace, my family, the environment. And I'm just making that up. I'm adding that on, but it's like, it's like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So it's like, if you have this core mindset of, I want to have a positive impact on the environments I'm in, then that goes across the board. That goes for the people, that goes for everything. And the more you practice it in one area, the more you can execute it in those other areas. So yeah, it's just like that's very vague, but it's definitely, it actually aids my priorities. Like that value, that direction aids my priorities, because I having a positive impact, like more opportunities come in from that, and it furthers my goals. In terms of, okay, I'm now getting promoted. Okay, well, that I can now move up, and in this company a little bit. I am now moving up in my qualification for other jobs. I'm got a little bit more money to save for other projects, and there's other things I want to do outside of work. So this is the direction I want to move in. Okay, that's all great. That's the overarching direction. Now, how are things going on a daily basis? It's like, okay, how can I get more detail oriented? It's like, okay, I need to not. I'm noticing that I can take the work too seriously. I'm noticing, oh, I have these fears here. A lot of the advancement on a detailed level is, where am I getting afraid? Where am I making assumptions that I'm not questioning, that aren't serving me? I'm assuming that this thing is important, but it's really not. And if I didn't realize that assumption, that I can't disconnect from the emotional attachment to that assumption, the assumption of value in one place or another. But the default assumptions of what is valuable are mostly tied to fears. So it's about conquering those fears. It's not just like, okay, I'm just gonna not care anymore. It's just like, I'm gonna realize this thing doesn't matter and it's out of my control. It's out of my control, so it doesn't matter, so it's not valuable to me to worry about it. Or, yeah, actually, this thing is important. It is within my control, and I'm going to take steps there, even though I'm afraid to do it wrong. And I have to realize I'm afraid of doing it wrong because I'm afraid of not doing it perfect. And I'm going to have to deal with that. But being perfect is outside of my control. But trying something is not out of my control, and I can do that. So that's just a little bit of the smaller pieces. And those are all my thoughts for now. I'm going to go into work. Things are at a good pace right now, and I think what I'm trying to do now is do more writing, just about my thoughts, my feelings, about just every area of my life, and I think that will help clarify these sorts of reflections and reflections outside of this.